This morning, it's Sunday. In fact, it's Sunday all day. I haven't recorded anything since, I think it was Friday morning when I finished off my car camping video. Or my last week in the life with the car camping on it. I just haven't had the energy to do it. My shoulder has got really bad. But it's only bad at night. So during the day, it's fine, no problem. And when I lay down at night, that's when it starts to hurt, which is pretty obvious that it's the pressure from lying down. The only way I can stop it seems to be lying on my back and having a hot water bottle behind my shoulder, which works a treat. But the hot in the hot water bottle only lasts so long. So I'm finding that I'm having to get up a couple of times a night to refill the hot water bottle because the pain starts again. I had a frozen shoulder in this side for a while, some years ago, and it's come back to bite me now that my menopausal hormones are raging war against my muscles and my joints and everything else. And that can happen if you have old injuries, like muscle injuries, things like that, that can come back to get you. And that might be why my right ankle has been so bad as well, because some years ago I slipped in a car park and ripped the ligaments in my ankle, and that's come back to get me as well. So look after yourself if you're younger, or even if you're not younger, because as you get older these things will come back to get you, unfortunately. So I've just been pottering about since I got back, being quite tired and not having much to say. Sunday morning, yesterday I did one of my business cleans, my usual weekend cleans, and the other one I did this morning. And I was up and out early enough that I could go into Morrison's, so I did. I don't usually go on Sunday mornings now because they're not usually very good, but I thought, well, I'm there anyway, I might as well go and have a look. And I did get a few things. Not a whole lot. We are a vegetable-free zone still, unfortunately, but I did manage to get some things. So I spent £5.30. I got this tub of coleslaw, which was £1.50 down to 61p. I got one tin of sardines in brine. These are discounted to 49p each. I have a stash of these already. They've stopped doing the brine ones, and I just saw the one on there, so I've picked that up. I bought Scotch eggs. I wonder if I'm going to regret this. Good Scotch eggs are good, bad ones are bad. These aren't the Savour version, so they might not be too bad. It's a 4-pack. These were £2.50 down to £1.50. I don't have any snacky type food or dessert food in at the moment, so I'm allowing myself that. And the other thing I got, they had some kippers, kipper fillets. These are two. Actually, I think there's more than that. Is there 4 in there? It's quite thick. I think there might be 2 whole fish in each of these. These were £1.50 down to 90p. They're ready to cook. They've got the little butter thing in with them. So I got 3 of those. 2 of those will go in the freezer. This one I'm going to leave up for tomorrow and have that one. And that's all of my actual Morrison shop. And I'll do the usual, put how much I would have spent if I bought it full price and how much I've saved by buying it on yellow stickers up here. So you can see what I've saved on that. On the way back, I walked past where that rogue tomato plant is that I found last month, and I'd left a lot of smaller tomatoes on it because they weren't really worth picking, and they've got bigger, so I've picked a few. I have about a dozen of bigger ones, and I still have some of the last batch still ripening, so I'm going to put these with them, and then it's a constant supply, and there are still lots of small tomatoes on that plant, so I'm going to keep going back until, you know, the weather changes enough and it kills the plant off. So there's quite a lot I've got there. That's pretty good. I've been using these and they've been absolutely fine. This morning we had fog, thick fog. It was lovely. I love the atmosphere of thick fog in streets or anywhere really. And then when I went out at 9 o'clock, it was so cold. I don't know what the temperature was, I didn't look, but it was really, had that proper crispy autumn coldness to it, and that's the first morning I felt it. So I feel like we're in autumn proper now, although we have a nice week of temperatures coming up this week. Apparently it's going to be about like 16 or something during the day, which will be nice because I've really missed the sun, and I don't think that's helping with the way I feel at the moment, is that we're now in that really dull weather and it's colder, and you know, you don't get enough time to adjust, because it's not like you get a couple of bad days and a couple of nice days. It's like just cloud, no sun for like a week or something, and you start to slow down. So I'm hoping that this week will be nicer and I can get a little boost of sunshine, because I really need that right now. And that's it for Sunday, really. I've been busy still crafting stuff and whatever, editing videos from my car camping trip. So I did I added some of it to the week in the life, the last one you saw, and then I've split the whole trip proper with all the video into 2 videos, which will go on my Walk With Me channel. So go and have a look at that if you want to see more. I've just put some highlights in, because otherwise you end up with a really long video. So it's I think it's probably about 3 hours in total on the other one, but I've split it into 2 so you can watch it in stages, and hopefully that'll be interesting. It has more on it. And that's it, really. So I've been working on those, and yeah, still busy. I mean, I'm no good at not doing anything. I can't stop. It's just not me. So yeah, I'm just getting on with it. Anyway, so I'm going to go and sort this lot out, get whatever needs to go into the freezer, get everything onto my spreadsheet, so I know what I've spent and what I've saved and how much everything is costing me. And oops, fell over. And yeah, then it's actually lunchtime now, so I'm going to go and get on with some lunch. I've been reading Martin Lewis's update on the new Ofgem proposal for offering low energy users lower standing charges, or getting rid of standing charges and adding it to the actual usage. And he's not been very impressed about it because of the rules they've set around it. And he says that he feels that Ofgem have set it up for failure so that they can just stop doing it. I think they've given it 2 years. So one of the things he says is that you need to have a minimum usage level to qualify for these new tariffs that they're bringing in. Ofgem is proposing to set the thresholds at 666 kilowatts for electricity and 2,836 kilowatts for gas, which is around £178 per year of energy use, excluding standing charges. So you've got to take that out of your bill and just look at the physical energy usage. Now, I don't know whether he means it has to be the actual kilowatt usage or the amount. He says that the intention behind this seems to be to cut out second homeowners, yet, as Martin notes above, it risks wrongly capturing very low users. So they have this, he's included this limit of it being around £178 a year. Now, I have spent within the last 12 months, so I haven't had my October bill through yet as of recording this. So I've added a couple of months from last year to make it up to 12 months, if you know what I mean. And my spend, that's across gas and electric, is £200.20. That's taking out the standing charges. The standing charges on both those accounts come to £287.79, and I haven't included the VAT. However, when he looks at thresholds in kilowatt usage, I have a major problem, because he's saying 666 kilowatts for electricity. That's not too bad. I've used 677 kilowatts in electricity. For gas, you have to have a usage of 2,836 kilowatts per hour for the gas. My gas usage is 640. So I don't know if I'm even eligible for this, because it's excluding very low users. So if you're like me and you're trying desperately to keep your energy bills down, and you're doing things, the sort of things I do, which is switching off your gas boiler. My gas boiler only goes on in the winter if it turns really cold. I don't even have hot running water here now, because the amount of hot water I need, it's easier and quicker and more energy efficient for me to just boil a saucepan on the hob, because it's such a small amount that I need. I have an electric shower, so I don't need it for bathing. I have my 2 freezers that I have on timer, and I started doing that because I have something that a lot of people don't have, which is my underdesk treadmill. So that's eating electricity. So I balance the use of that with putting my freezers on timer, and that kind of works out. So if you are a very low user, if you are doing the sorts of things that I'm doing, you're classed as a second homeowner, because he says at the end, the intention behind this, and he's referring to the thresholds, seems to be to cut out second homeowners. Yet, as Martin notes above, it risks wrongly capturing very low users. Now, they don't have to offer both energy sources. So they might, so let's say if I'm lucky, they might offer me a low user tariff for my electricity, for instance. So I just come in for that, because that's 666 kilowatts and I'm using 677. So I might be able to save some money on that, but I won't be able to save any money on the gas. So I don't know. I think we've been screwed over, and I think we've been screwed over deliberately, because Ofgem doesn't really want to do this. The energy companies won't like it, and it means that they can do this as a trial for 2 years, and then, as Martin says, they'll be able to look at the figures, decide that nobody's using it, and then they'll be able to scrap it. So I'm really, really disappointed about that, because it's deliberately exclusionary. Absolutely ridiculous. And who knows, maybe the savings on this aren't worth the effort of worrying about anyway. I don't even know. This is supposed to come into force in January, but I don't know what it's going to look like, how it's going to, because all the energy providers can do it in different ways. So I don't know. Anyway, so if you're a low user, you are probably excluded from this low user tariff, because you don't use enough energy. You can't win, can you? You just can't win. Ever since a certain election happened at the beginning of the year, I have been ever more mindful of the companies that I use for online stuff particularly. And it's something that I thought about before that, and something that I'm thinking about even more now that over here we are talking about UK digital IDs and basically tracking everybody's lives. And the fallout from the election at last year and when it came into force this year is that big corporations will capitulate to dictators, bullies and fraudsters in their search for their next $1 billion. 2 companies I think particularly badly of in this respect is Facebook, or Meta, and Google. But it's difficult to try and remove yourself from those systems. So you forget how enormous these companies have become and how controlling they have become when you try to remove yourself from them. So I do have a Facebook account,
I have one for business, a business page, and a personal account. I've practically abandoned both. They just kind of sit there doing nothing now. And I fell out of love with Instagram last year, so I don't use that very often. But I do have a business page and a personal account, but again, they're not populated very often. I don't really use them. I don't post pictures up of where I've been and things like that. And of course, Instagram has just brought in this new tracking bit on it, like a maps tracking, so it can follow you around. So you need to go in and check your settings, and I'll put a link to a video that I saw recently on Nomadic Kangoo, which talks about this. So you need to go in and check that, because some people are finding that it's been automatically activated, so Instagram can track you wherever you go if you're on your smartphone. Yeah, I'll put that link up here somewhere. And of course, Instagram is owned by Meta, it's owned by Facebook, and so is WhatsApp. So if you use any of these things, you are using the same company in different ways. Now, you can just scrap Facebook, that's easy. I could do that. You could scrap Instagram, that's easy. I could scrap WhatsApp. A lot of people that I message with still use SMS, and if I got rid of WhatsApp, it would just go back to SMS, so it wouldn't be a big deal. But some other things are quite tricky. So I do have Google accounts, and you need them to be able to have YouTube. So if you want to get away from YouTube, or get away from your Google accounts, you have to get rid of your YouTube as well. And particularly as a content creator who's monetized, a lot of my income from YouTube comes from Google ads. So, you know, it's finding the alternatives. And there are alternatives, but are the alternatives good? One of the other things I use is Google Maps. And you've got to be careful with that, because it's tracking you wherever you go. So I've been looking at Google Maps, because particularly when you're thinking about, say, the UK Digital ID, where they're going to try and track everything that you do. And I've had a look at alternatives to Google Maps, and there are lots around. So I had a look at this top 5 list, and the top one, this is for people who wanted to get away from Google Maps for whatever reason. The top one was called Waze, W-A-Z-E. But when I looked into it, Waze is a subsidiary business of Google. So there you are. The next one I found is it's either called Here We Go or Here We Go. It's the way it's written. I'll put a thing up there so you can see what the logo looks like. And so that one is owned by a German company, and it used to be Nokia Maps, and it's now called Here We Go, or Here We Go. So I've downloaded that, and I've played around with it, and it basically looks exactly the same as Google Maps. It's pretty much the same thing. I haven't used it on a journey yet, but it looks fine. So I'm going to give that a go. Now, of course, it means that I've kind of lost all my saved places and things. I haven't got rid of Google Maps, because I'm probably going to have to refer to it quite a lot for places that I still want to go to, that I've got saved in a to-do folder on my Google Maps. But I'm going to give this app a go. But it's really hard to break free from these companies, because they basically own everything. You've got 3 or 4 really massive companies that own everything. And so you can't just get rid of one app or one website. You have to get rid of everything, because they're all linked. I've stopped using Google Chrome, and I started using Bing. I have Bing on my laptop, and I've started using DuckDuckGo on my phone, and they work just as well. But of course, you know, you've got all your bookmarks in Google and what have you, and you lose all that. So yeah, I use Firefox on my laptop, and my search engine is Bing, and I'm using DuckDuckGo on my phone at the moment. So they're supposed to be better, but I tell you what, it's an absolute nightmare. If you want to be connected, I don't want to disconnect myself from the internet. I need it. I run an online business. I make videos on YouTube, and I need to have various connections. So if you've got any ideas, or you've already found alternatives that work really well to some of these things, do drop me a line in the comments, because I can do searches and I can look for recommendations and things. That's easy enough, but sometimes the best things come from people who are already using those things and have already worked it out long before you have. So I'm particularly keen to drop Google, or at least the bits of Google that are tracking me, like Maps, like Google Chrome. And I can do that without it causing too many problems, because getting rid of search engines and all that sort of thing is relatively easy. Google Maps seems to be relatively easy. Some other things aren't quite as easy, but you can remove your location tracking and things like that, and I've changed some of my settings in Google just to cover that. So yeah, let me know what you're using, because I really want to remove some of these things from my life, because I hate these big companies. They've demonstrated a side of themselves this year which is particularly distasteful to me, and it's all for their billions. It's all about money. It's greed, it's money, and I ain't got the time for that. So, just me. I'm a parallel parking queen, I am. Almost, anyway. I slightly overshot that one. Never mind. That's what I love about this little tiny car. It is tiny, and it will fit in most places. And there she is, spot on. Oh, another person in front of me has just come to get in. And she's laughing at me because I made such a perfect park, and now she's going to leave. Anyway, never mind. I'm here. I'm 4 minutes early. I have time to get myself organised. So yeah, do leave me some comments on that. Information is good. So I've just finished my Monday morning clean. It's all kicking off again there now. She started falling again and has ended up back in hospital. Not because of the fall, but because she's gone downhill again. So after she last came out of hospital and they changed all her medications, they changed all her epilepsy medications and things, she seemed to be doing really well. Her speech came back, she was less confused, she seemed happier. And then over the last few weeks, she started to deteriorate again. So she had this fall, and then the next day she had a telephone appointment with her doctor, and he was asking her things and she was really confused. She didn't know what to answer, so he took over the conversation, and the doctor agreed to take her back into hospital to do more tests on her. He thinks, her husband thinks that, so when she last fell, she got a bleed on the brain, and they kept her in for about a week and then sent her home. He thinks it's still causing problems, and that's why she's getting worse again. I'm not sure. It could still be to do with all the medication she's on. She's on loads of different medications, and when they changed them, she seemed to have a temporary respite, but maybe that's just a coincidence. And I said to him, I said, is it possible that this is dementia? Because she's getting very confused about things and what have you, and she's like, they're both 79 now. And I said, the thing is with dementia, when I was reading up about that, because I was worried about my dad's short-term memory, it's certain things that are key to knowing if it's that. So if you're forgetting the names of immediate family, if you forget where you live, if you can't remember how to get somewhere, the really important, very basic stuff that you don't forget, that's a sign. It's not like you're trying to tell a story from 5 years ago and you've forgotten the details. That's a different thing entirely. So I don't worry about my dad. He doesn't forget all the basics. I mean, we have long conversations about, all sorts of things, and Like if you ask him something that's to do with electricity, electrical engineering, he can tell you everything. So he's not forgotten any of that. And so he said, yeah, I was looking at a YouTube video about it, and he said it sounds like her. So I don't know whether that's got anything to do with it. They are both very, very ill, pretty much housebound. He's at the point of absolutely snapping. He's in so much pain now because of his knees. He's booked to have his knee op, his first knee op, next month. And he wants it done, you know, he wants to get in there and get it done, but he's also scared because he's high risk. He's 80. He's got other health issues, not really bad ones, but he's also on loads and loads of tramadol for the pain, and he's been on that for years. It's a really long op. It's something like 6 hours, this operation, because it's so complicated. So he's scared and anxious about it, as you would be. So playing the waiting game isn't helping, and he's got to the point where he can barely get out of a chair now. So now he has been pretty much doing things for her, because pretty much every time she gets up she falls over, so she can't do anything. So they got no help coming round really. They have 3 children all within reasonable driving distance, and I don't know, I don't feel like they're getting as much support from family as they really need now. I don't think people realise how serious it is. Yeah, that was me, thank you. Almost hit me. So he's like staying up really late at night, because she stays up really late at night. So he won't go to bed until she goes to bed in case she falls. So that means he's up until about 4 o'clock in the morning. And if you're sleep deprived, and if you're in pain, if you're under stress, that is not going to help. So I said to him, you've got to start going to bed earlier. So this week when I was in, I asked him, he said, oh yeah, going to bed at 2. I said, you've got to get better than that, because he's always tired, and then he catnaps during the day, and that isn't proper sleep. So you need to get proper sleep. Go to bed at a sensible hour and have proper sleep. Anyway, whether he will, I don't know. Maybe while she's awake he will. It's his own routine then. Anyway, so he's because he can barely even stand now, he's not cooking. They're not using the kitchen. And so he's not eating. They're like nibbling on bits that are in the fridge and getting takeaways. So he's losing weight, so that's also not good for all the other problems he's got. So I said to him, well, at least when I'm here on Monday and Wednesday, at least let me cook you a meal, like a proper meal that you can eat while I'm there. So anyway, I was going to do him some curry and rice today, and he changed his mind and wanted soup and bread. But at least he's eating it. So I can at least do that. So, I don't know. It's all a bit... I'd hate to be in their situation. It's a miserable way to live. They're having miserable lives. They're both in a lot of pain. They both have very bad health. They don't go anywhere. They don't do anything. Unless people come to them, they don't see anybody. And they're sick of being stuck in this house just with each other. And so they're getting annoyed at each other, because they get on each other's nerves, because they're both very unsympathetic to each other's situations. But equally, particularly him is in so much pain now, he snaps at her because he's just like had it up to here with everything. And I don't blame him. But so they both wind each other up, and then they get annoyed at each other, and it's because the whole situation is just horrible. They are living such sad, depressing lives, and they really hate it. So when I'm there and he's on his own like that, he kind of gets a chance to vent a bit to me, and he gets some of it out of his system. It must be really hard. I never ever want to end up like that. This is my fear. And in some ways it's not so bad when you're a couple, but what if you're a sick couple? You can't help each other, can you? And then do you necessarily want your partner to be your carer if it's like a 24-hour job? I mean, It's what people do, but not everybody does. So I don't know. It's and I do kind of worry about my parents in the same thing, but then my parents are the same age as them and are still independent, free. They don't need carers. They don't, beyond needing, the usual kind of checks that they do at their age, and they're both on medications as well, but nothing like major, I suppose you could say. It's just management. So my dad has arrhythmia, so his heartbeat is out of sync, so he's on blood thinners. He used to be on warfarin, he's not anymore. He's on less severe ones now, so that manages that. My mum's on a couple of things because she had what they classed as a heart attack I don't know, blimey, 10 years ago? I don't even know now. And it wasn't, because they couldn't find anything wrong with her. They think it was just like a little bit of, the furring up had come away somewhere and got caught up in the heart on the way through, and that's what caused it, but they couldn't actually find any reason for it. Anyway, so she's on a couple of things as a kind of a keeping an eye on it kind of thing. But they're, they both drive, they're both pretty mobile considering, but the wheels come off eventually. This is what happens when we get old. People never used to get this old and didn't see a lot of the problems that we now have, with our generations who are getting into their 80s and 90s and spending more of their years ill than they are healthy. So retirement is a much longer process now for modern generations, and very often, not for everybody, but very often is a long, drawn out, painful experience, because there's so many people in ill health. And this is one of the reasons why the NHS is under so much trouble, is because it wasn't designed for that kind of stress. It wasn't designed for that kind of that number of people on it. So that's why we have problems there. But I'm rambling. Anyway, so yeah, they're not doing so well. And then he suddenly got a call while I was there to say, we've got a slot free, do you want your knee up on Wednesday in 2 days time? And he couldn't do it because of everything that's going on, which is a shame, because he could have skipped a month there. Anyway, not to worry. It is Tuesday evening. Yesterday evening I went to Morrison's, got a few bits, didn't record it, I didn't have the energy. It's come back in the dark as well, and it's just, the nights are drawing in so fast, I'm like, ugh. So I'll put those up here now. So there's only a few bits anyway. Some treat food, as you can tell. Massive queue of people at the clearance section again. It's I'm gonna have to start going there even later, like 6:30 or something. And most of the people queuing there are only picking up 1 or 2 bits. They're picking up like the branded, the ready-made stuff. The expensive bits of meat that are discounted, but they're still too expensive for people like me. And that means that most of the stuff that I would normally buy is still left there. So I'm going to have to start going even later. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, so I picked up a few bits, and that's what, up there, wherever it goes, I shall put how much I would have spent if I bought all that full price, and how much I saved by buying onion stickers, la-di-da-di-da. I've been busy finishing off all my crafter jars today. Haven't gone out at all. Felt quite tired. My shoulder's not hurting as much, but the pins and needles in my hand has got worse. and it wakes me up during the night. So it's like a no-win situation. Anyway, so I've just been pottering around getting that done, finishing off my Morecambe car camping videos, etc. So I've just managed to finish those, which is really good. One's already uploaded and logged in, ready to be published on YouTube. I can't remember what day I've put it in for publishing, and the other one just needs to be uploaded now. Most of the jars are finished. I've got the photographs done. I've got those into Shopify. I just need to redo all the descriptions now and make sure they're ready to go. That probably all now won't happen till Thursday. Today's been a really irritating technology day. You get those days where technology seems to conspire against you. So my internet's not been great today. It's been very glitchy since about 2 o'clock, which has not helped the uploading process and everything. It takes time to do it because it keeps dipping in and out. One of my survey sites, the e-reward site, which is a good one for earning nectar points, that's been really glitchy over the last couple of months. It started not recognizing my password when I learnt to log in, and then after a few goes it would recognize it, and it started asking me to log in every time I go in rather than just remembering my details. So I tried to reset my password last night, and it has to send you a code to your email for you to reset your password, and the code is just not turning up. I've tried it about 30 times and it doesn't work. So I've contacted their help desk. They've just told me what to do, which is what I've already done. I don't know if it's a problem their end because I've changed my password on there before, or if it's something to do with my 4G, because they said make sure you're not using a VPN, la-di-da-di-da. And sometimes 4G can be a bit funny about that because you have to be in the right location. And so sometimes it can cause problems. So I might need to have another go when I'm over at Sainsbury tomorrow and use their Wi-Fi. Maybe that will make a difference. It just drives me nuts. So I've been faffing around with that. I've got another survey site which has sneakily, without telling me, has stopped allowing you to cash out in cash via PayPal for a £5. And now if you want to cash out, instead of reaching it's 500 and something points, you have to hit 1500 now. You can get your money in smaller amounts if you take like gift cards like Amazon and stuff, but I'd rather just have the cash. So now I've got to wait even longer to get to cash out on that. So there's sneaky little changes taking place on some of those sites, and I've got so many of my survey sites that now completely log me out, and I don't know if this is a problem where they're changing their security. I read that the e-rewards one has been quite glitchy since last year, where it's people are getting logged out and it won't it won't recognize their password even though their password is right. And I've had that on and off for a while as well, and I just can't get it to send me the code. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't. It'll say it's sending it, it'll say it sent it, but it doesn't appear in my email, which is really, really irritating. So I'll try that again when I get to Sainsbury tomorrow. But it's just such a waste of time. Technology just is supposed to make things easier, and so often it's making things more difficult. And I keep getting updates on things to do with this stupid UK ID card. And there's a site I follow on YouTube. I think it's called Cyber Waffle. And he breaks down what's going on. And apparently the one where they're adding age verification, where you have to prove your age by uploading your ID, like your passport or your driving license or whatever it is, it's been hacked. And so many thousands of children and adults have had all their information lifted from these sites, and it's now hurtling around the world with hackers. And that's government run, but they farmed the process of doing it out to the cheapest bidder, and now it's ended up not being secure. So you know it's going to happen with this stupid ID card. It's just ripe for hackers to break in and steal all our information. And I was reading about how, you know, if you refuse to have the card, how they'll just hold you to ransom. They say it's not mandatory, but then they tell you if you don't do it, you know, if you're looking for work, you can't get a job. And they've said about how they're going to be linking all benefits, and bearing in mind that a couple of years back they reclassified the state pension as a benefit, so you won't be able to get your pension if you don't have it, and also that they're going to link all your bank accounts to it. And I was watching a video whereby there's a system, I think it's a system that's already in place somewhere else, and I think it's the system that they would probably implement here, whereby if you don't have the card and you use your bank account, you get a lock on your account and you have 6 weeks to sign up to the card or you lose access to your bank accounts. So, you know, there's all of us who are talking about refusing to get the card. But if they block access to all your bank accounts, I mean, what are you going to do? Just keep cash under the bed? I guess that's the only way it's going to work. This world's gone crazy. I don't know what's going on with this country at the moment. I don't know why we suddenly want to be like China and lock everybody down and follow everybody around. It's like Keir Starmer's suddenly lost his mind, because he never talked about any of this last year. I think he's had too many meetings with Trump. Anyway, so that's the thing that worries me at the moment, actually. I don't usually worry about, well, I do worry about all this political stuff that's going on, but I think, well, if I just ignore it, all these things will get themselves sorted out somewhere along the line. But if they bring in this card, we're all completely stuffed. And someone said that once this card is brought into play, even if you then get a new government come in who doesn't agree with it, you can't roll it back. You can't get rid of it once it's there. I don't know if that's true. But I know that some countries in Europe have this ID card, but it's not like been enforced in the way that I'm hearing about this one. So Austria has one, but apparently the uptake has only been 43% of people. The rest of them won't have it. But they don't lock you down and stop you from accessing your money or stop you accessing hospital care or anything like that. Whereas this one is just going to say, well, if you don't have it, it's not mandatory, but if you don't have it, you can't live. It's as simple as that. I mean, in terms of work, that's not a big deal for me. I'm self-employed. I can manage without that. But if they stop you from accessing your bank accounts, what the hell are you going to do? Because without money, you can't just go completely off-grid. You need money. If I have to move and rent somewhere and the new landlord or letting agent follows the system and I haven't got an ID, you can't, you can walk around saying, well, I haven't got a smartphone, therefore I can't have the ID. But they're still going to lock you out. My parents don't have smartphones. They'll be locked out. They won't be able to have access to pensions and bank accounts because everything comes out of bank accounts. So it's all worrying stuff, and I try to think about it, but it does kind of eat away at you a little bit. Because there are certain things like this. Most stuff you can say, well, this is going on around me, but if I just stay focused on my own life and try and do my thing, then I'll be okay. But with something like this, it's being forced on you and you have to accept it. And then our IDs are going to be hacked and we're going to be duplicated all around the world doing goodness knows what. Because it's being implemented by a government that is incapable of making a system that can't be hacked because they're idiots. Anyway, Tuesday evening thoughts, and I think that doesn't help with my tired state of mind. In some ways, I envy my parents. They're so much older than me. They're not going to have to deal with a lot of this. And unfortunately, I've probably got theoretically 20, 30 years of this to go. And heaven knows, can you imagine where this country's going to be in 20 years if it's like it is now? So I try not to think about all this stuff, but it's really hard not to, because it will affect us all. They're all a bunch of idiots. Anyway, Tuesday evening, I'm watching films on telly, and I've got a cup of tea, and I am trying to do as many surveys as I can, even though my internet is still really glitchy. So it's the end of Tuesday. Today is the 15th of October, it's Wednesday, and about 4 days ago I saw my first Christmas advert, and perhaps not surprisingly, I don't know, it wouldn't surprise me, it was for Disneyland Paris. And it was last year's advert, and I think probably the year before that as well. But I bet their prices aren't the same as last year. So that was fun. And in Morrison's, the Christmas nut selections are already starting to creep in. We haven't even got Halloween out the way yet, and Halloween, they don't really seem to have advertised very much. I haven't seen much of anything for Halloween this year. There's one aisle in Morrison's and a scattering of stuff in Sainsbury, but it's very lackluster. I think they're going to go all out trying to get people to spend for Christmas. Who cares about Halloween anymore? I know it's a bigger thing over in the US, what have you, but it's not really a thing here in the UK. Maybe for the little ones, but my best friend always loved doing Halloween with her boys, and now they are 17 and 18, they couldn't care less, they're not interested. So Halloween pretty much doesn't happen anymore. She's sad about that because she loves Halloween. She's really into that sort of thing. Does all the decorations for it and all that, but she didn't bother doing that this year, so there's no point. So yeah, Christmas is already here by the end of the first week of October. It's ridiculous. And it's not like things have improved economically for people either. It's got worse since last Christmas, and yet still they're pushing and pushing and trying to make you buy stuff. Profit margins are the bottom line. So I'm on my way to Sainsbury before I go to my Wednesday clean. I've got a list of stuff to buy for them. She came home from the hospital the afternoon, on Monday afternoon after I'd left, so I don't know what's happened there. That meant she'd been in hospital for a few days. This keeps happening. They send her home, and then something else will happen, and she'll be back in again. So I'll get an update when I go in and see. It's just like a roundabout of constant appointments. Anyway, Wednesday evening, and I went back to Morrison's. Done my cleaned today, cleaned this evening, and I decided to go back. I've been getting food in very small amounts at the moment because there's not a lot of variation in. So, and again, no vegetables at all. I've still got vegetables in the freezer, which is good. But yeah, a little bit short on the food front. So I've been going in and just getting a few bits each time. So today, what did I spend? I spent £4.24 today, this evening. Some repetitions, so there were some things that I just wanted to buy because there were lots of them. So, salami, Italian salami, or so it says. These were £2.50 each, down to 63p, and there were loads of these, so I bought 3 of those. I will probably, it doesn't usually say, and I can't even read this because I've got my glasses on,
I usually shove this into the freezer, so I might keep one out and put the rest into the freezer. Quite a lot of bread on discount, and I really want beans on toast tomorrow night, and I've got some cans of beans still in from purchases, might even be last year, I can't remember. This is a Coburg Cob, was £1 down to 25p. That's a good size loaf there. I'm also really into cheese at the moment, like cheese on toast and cheese mixed into stir fries, really nice. So I've been doing that. And of course, guess what I got again? Pork pies, loads of pork pies. I have here a large Melton Mowbray pork pie. This was £3.50 down to £1.05. And I got the pork and apple pie. This is absolutely my favourite thing at the moment. And again, £3.50 down to £1.05. Can't help it. At one point, they're suddenly going to stop appearing, and I won't see them again for months and months and months. So I'm making the most of it. It's like the harvest in the autumn when all the fruit is on the trees and whatever, and you enjoy it while it's there. You love it. You preserve what you can, but you just enjoy it. And then it's gone. And then the next time you see it might be, you know, months and months later or a year later, and you then enjoy it again. So I prefer to just enjoy these things whilst they're there. And when I can't get them on discount, I then can't have them. And that way I appreciate the ones that I've got more, rather than just going in and buying one all the time, because you just lose that sensation of, oh, this is really nice. That's how I think of it. Anyway, so as I said, £4.24. As usual, I will put up there what I would have spent if I bought everything full price, what I have saved by buying it on yellow stickers, and that is well and truly the end of Wednesday. I now have 2 days to myself, and I am really pleased about that. So that's it for Wednesday. I meant to wrap up this video yesterday and forgot. So I'm doing it this morning, Thursday morning. Quite cold, look, I've got my full on yellow chunky jumper on, and it's lovely. It's so good. It's lovely and warm. Yeah, Thursday morning. 2 days of freedom now to get on and do arty stuff. Here's a quick little thing of what I've been making. And that's it. That's the end of this video. Quite long this time. I waffled a lot this time. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the waffle. And that's it. Another video coming soon, as always. And speak to you soon. Bye bye.